Hey legends, welcome along to a new episode of Hellmouth Hotline. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart. Right, before we get into this episode, which is a fantastic episode of Buffy Season 2, I just want to give you another little invite to go check out coinsagemedia.com and check out some of the stuff that I'm doing over there. I've got some plans, long-term plans, that the website is going to be dealing with. Not so much the social media or the podcast at this point. There's a few other things over there you might be interested in, so please go check it out. And if you're interested, fair enough, and if not, it's all good too. I'm just doing this and enjoying the process of doing my thing. So let's get on to this episode. So guys, let's get into it. This is Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2 Episode 17, Passion. This is an absolutely fantastic episode, and essentially in this one, Angel / Angelus is up in his torment of Buffy and the Scooby Gang. And I do have to say, before we go any further, if you're not familiar with the series of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there will be spoilers in these podcasts, so be warned. This is going to destroy this episode for you, because I remember the first time seeing this one and seeing where we eventually get to at the end of the episode and how it is executed was just such a shock back in the day. Just not how graphic it was, but just the evil way that Angelus carries out his plan in this episode. The episode itself is insanely well acted by everyone involved, and yes, it is absolutely fantastic. And I just really am still finding it kind of hard to believe that this was way back in 1998 this episode came out, because it just feels like yesterday when I first seen this episode. When it was first broadcast, I was watching the series as it was going out, so even tonight watching the episode again, it's just the emotion is still there, even though I knew where it was going to go by the end of the episode. Anyway, let's get into the plot of the episode. Buffy wakes up in the morning and she finds an envelope on her pillow containing a charcoal drawing of herself sleeping. Angel has, as we all know at this point, he's been in Buffy's house more times than enough. He's a vampire. He's had the invite. That still stands. So in this episode, he's sneaking in and doing this sort of stuff, not just to Buffy, but he does do it to Willow later on in the episode, and ultimately he does this similar thing to Giles, but just on a much heavier scale, but we'll get to that as we go along. Buffy she goes to Giles and asks him if he can find a spell to reverse Angel's invitation to her home. So he spends the better part of the episode doing that, and he gets a little bit of help from Jenny Calendar in this episode as well. And the relationship between her and Giles is still fairly fractured after everything that happened. We found out that Jenny was actually a descendant from the gypsy clan that originally cursed Angel with his soul, and Buffy still hasn't really forgiven her for, they all feel like the backstabbing that Jenny gave them when all that went down. Buffy explains to her mother that she's been having problems with Angel, whom she describes as an abusive ex-boyfriend. Later that night, Willow discovers that Angelus has been in her room too, leaving behind a sick gift for her of her dead goldfish hanging from a fishing line. And yes, it's just brutal little things like that there that he's doing to really up the torment. As Buffy says earlier in the episode, Angel once told her that one of the first things he did with Drusilla when he was going after her before she became a vampire was to kill her whole family and that, and drive her crazy. So he's really starting to slip into the the legend of what Angelus was. Drusilla has a vision showing someone attempting to break up the newly reunited vampire family. We cut from that there to Jenny Calendar as she goes to a gypsy novelty shop to buy an orb of Fessila. These orbs are essentially what are used to call someone's soul back from the ether and hold it until the spell can transfer it into the body of whoever the soul belongs to. So she is actually trying to restore Angel's soul to him and make amends for what she did to Buffy and Giles and everyone in this episode. Buffy confronts Jenny at school the next day, and you think that she's going to apologise and try and make things better with Jenny, and she kind of, in a way, she kind of does, but she kind of doesn't either. Jenny says she's feeling bad about what happened, and we think Buffy's going to apologise, and she instead turns around and says, well, good, keep that up. But she does tell Jenny that Giles misses her, and Buffy just wants everybody to be happy and not be lonely, sort of a thing. So that's the beginning of a bit of a healing process for Miss Calendar and Giles in this episode, thanks to Buffy. Giles tells Buffy that he has found a ritual to revoke a vampire's invitation, and while they're getting that all sorted, and Cordelia is convinced that her car needs the spell as well, because Angel has been in her car, and it's the invite only works to a place where you live at, so we get that little bit of comic relief from her trying to get the spell done on her car. And it is what it is. It's a fantastic episode. It's intense, but that little piece of comic relief really helped to lighten the mood of the episode slightly. Joyce comes home that evening and finds Angelus waiting for her in the front yard. He starts to follow her into the house, and he's, talking about Buffy, and he can't live without her, and Joyce been Buffy's mother, if you don't know that. He's like, I can't live without her, and I haven't been able to sleep since we had sex, sort of thing. He drops that bomb in there because he knows that Buffy hasn't told her mother that any of that happened, so it's another form of torment as well to drop that secret in Buffy's mother. And where are we at? I've lost my place in my notes again. Joyce Angelus. What's wrong with my England tonight? Angel starts to follow her into the house, but he's unable to cross the threshold, and we see Willow reciting the ritual, and Buffy shuts the door in his face. She's like, sorry Angel, I've changed the locks. When Giles finds Buffy working late at school, he invites her to call at his house when she's finished. They've got to a point now where Jenny has expressed her true feelings for Giles. She says, like, when I came here, I came at from the family, like I'm descended from the family that Angel hurt the worst, and I'm just here to do what I had to do for them, and I wasn't expecting to fall in love with you. So she expresses her true feelings for Giles, and he didn't, although he was absolutely crazy about her as well, he didn't say the same back to her. But that night she's working in the school, and she's actually trying to fix the spell. Like, the spell to restore someone's soul has been lost to the ages, but there is a translation there, but it's not complete, and she's using a computer program to try and connect the dots to get the spell 100%. She's got the orb of Fessila, of course. Giles invites her to come to his home when she's finished. Jenny completes her translation of the ritual's text, along with the orb of Fesla, will restore Angelus' soul. She jumps when she notices that Angelus is actually sitting in the classroom in the back row in the dark of the room. He comes up, realises what she's doing, so he smashes the orb of Fesla and drops the computer to the ground. He looks at the computer and he's like, that's crazy how much the world has advanced in 200 years. It's a miracle to me, these devices. And he looks at the computer, he sees the translation on screen. He says, right, this is the spell to restore my soul. You're not going to do it. He smashes the computer, it catches fire, and on the printer, there's a printout of the translation, so he rips that out, sets fire to it, and not realising that Miss Calendar has actually saved the translation to a floppy disk that's on her desk, so that survives. And I know a lot of people listen to this podcast now, it's like, what is a floppy disk? Old man. It was a way of saving information back in the day. So this little disc is on the desk, and he smashes the orb, wrecks everything. Jenny flees, but Angelus catches her, and after a long chase, and actually breaks her neck, killing her. Later that night, Giles returns home to find the whole house decorated in a romantic setting with candles, wine, rose petals all over the place, and finds a note on an ice bucket with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. And of course, us as the viewer, we've seen these notes that Angel has been leaving everybody else, Buffy and Willow, and as soon as you see the note, it's the same paper, it's from Angel, and you know where this is going, and it is so well done, this section of the episode. As Giles follows the trail, he finds Jenny's lifeless body on his bed, and of course calls the police, and he's hauled in for questioning, but he calls Buffy to give her the news before the police take him away. At Buffy's house, Angelus lurks outside. When the phone rings, he grins as the Slayer and Willow become stricken with grief. Like, Willow flat out loses it, starts bawling. She plays that so well. Like, her acting in this, not just this episode, but this series in general, was insanely good. And just the way she breaks down, and it's not a regular cry. It's an intense, heartbroken, like really, really, you believe that shit whenever she does it. And Buffy just falls to the floor, and she's crouched down, sitting. She puts her head on her knee, and Angel's outside the house, and he smiles, and his plans is going good. Giles returns to his apartment to arm for battle. A drawing of Jenny's lifeless body is seen on the table. At the factory, Spike isn't happy with what Angel's doing. He's like, we're supposed to be killing the Slayer, not playing with her. And they have a back and forth. There's an explosion as the long dining table erupts in flames. Angelus, Drusilla and Spike recoil and move to escape. Spike and Drusilla, last you see of them, they disappear, and Giles turns up and attacks Angel with a flaming baseball bat, and for a second Drusilla was going to jump in to help Angelus, but Spike pulled her back, and he's like, you know what, you don't jump into a fight unless you're tagged first, pet, and off they go, leave them to it. So Giles goes at Angel with a baseball bat, lights it on fire from the table and starts beating him around the head, and like he's really going to town on him, and he's putting on some really hardcore blows. But Angelus grabs him by the throat, lifts him clear off the floor. As Buffy enters, she breaks Giles free of Angelus' grasp and fights Angelus, but is distracted by the unconscious Giles. He's fallen to the floor, the place is in flames. Like, the fight between Angelus and Buffy in this episode is flipping intense. It is so well done. They fight on the bottom floor. Angelus makes a run for it up onto a platform up above. Buffy gets up there as well, and it's not just a fist fight, punching and kicking. It's like at one point she literally has a rope around his neck and she's like wheeling him into the side of the thing. It's really good. It's really well put together. But she's distracted by the unconscious Giles. Thanks to Angelus. Again, he's laughing during the thing. You're just going to let your old man burn. Giles, completely surrounded by flames. As Angelus makes his escape, Buffy jumps down and half carries Giles from the building. And Giles, regaining consciousness, he pushes Buffy away in anger and he says, "This isn't your fight." And Buffy, first reaction is to throw a punch and punch Giles in the face, knocking him to the ground, but then she gets down and put her arms around him and she's like, "You're going to get yourself killed, you can't leave me alone," sort of thing. "I need you," and whatnot. Later that night, Buffy apologises for not being able to kill Angelus when she had the chance, and Giles is like, all his years has been a watcher. He's had to bury so many people, but this was the first one that he loved. So this is the very first time Giles actually admits to being in love with Miss Calendar, but he never actually got to do it to her while she was alive. So it's a big, huge kick in the teeth for him in this episode. And if honestly you're watching this episode, he's the last character that you're expecting to get the real screw over by Angelus, but it happened and it was so well put together. The episode is absolutely fantastic. Next day at school, as Willow sets her books on the desk, she's been asked by the principal to take over Miss Calendar's class to cover until the new computer science teacher can be brought to the school. And as she sets the books down on the desk, the backup disc containing the translated ritual slides and falls into a narrow space between the desk and a filing cabinet, and that's where we cut out in the episode. It is insanely well done, this episode, and there's a whole thing about passion that's like a voiceover throughout the episode, what passion is, how it affects us and whatnot, and it's actually Angelus that's doing the voiceover throughout the episode. So it's good. It's insanely good. I really did enjoy this episode, and it really, it really changes the characters and their relationships to each other in this episode moving forward. Now we know there is a chance right now that Angel can get a soul back, and if you do know the series, spoilers, it does happen eventually, but this is the big turnaround for a lot of the stuff that's going to be happening, not just in the remainder of this series, but it's going to highly affect what happens in season 3 as well. So insanely good episode. If you haven't checked out Buffy before, I don't know what you're waiting for. Some of these old shows are absolutely fantastic, and for a show that was dealing with this sort of stuff, I've said it before in the show, this sort of stuff, up until, to the best of my knowledge anyway, the sort of stuff that this show dealt with normally would have been on late at night, 9 p.m. or after that, but over here in the UK at least, this show was going out at about 6 p.m, 6:30, 7 p.m, well before the watershed time. So it was definitely one of these shows that really, brought horror into the mainstream, and insanely good. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please rate and review the show, and please share this stuff along. Sharon's caring. I can't grow this without your help. So guys, I'll talk to you in the next episode. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much